All right, folks, we're going live on YouTube.
Okay, mute.
Hi, guys. Talk to you all later.
Yep.
Shabbat shalom to everybody in YouTube land. We're just getting set up and we should be starting momentarily.
All right. It's just different. No, it's just a different ball of wax. Yeah. I was announced, but not yet official. And that was a really powerful moment, but it's not the same. Yeah. One day. Whoop, backwards. Rhonda or Norm, we're ready for you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm going to see if I can read this with the bifocals and the mask. So please forgive me if I have to stutter a little bit. My name is Norman Goldschmidt. Nailed that part. On behalf of Congregation Beth Chaim, it's an honor to welcome you to our Shabbat service this evening as we Zoom from the synagogue. We want to maintain a warm and welcoming feeling for these services and create a sacred space that will inspire prayer. For those on Zoom, please help us by staying muted unless the clergy invites you to unmute and participate. You are welcome, however, to write in the chat box. And while we're not always all able to hear one another, we'd love for everyone on Zoom to sing along with us. Please know that prayer books are available to borrow if you'd like to follow along at home. And if you have any trouble with the technology, and certainly in a year and a half, it has not gone away, our executive director Mira Berezovsky, will be happy to assist you. For those of you praying in person, hi guys, we ask you to turn off your cell phones and be present with us. Also, please keep your mask on, covering your nose and mouth. The entire time you're in the building, although we're physically separated and masked, we are one community in prayer and celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. What are we starting with tonight, Cantor?
Page 10.
Page 10.
Page 10. Second paragraph on the page, Ma Yafeh Hayom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Ma Yafeh Hayom,
So glad to see you tonight in our sanctuary or on the big screen. We made it through Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Now it's on to Sukkot in just a few days. We're grateful to bring in this Shabbat with light and with warmth. And now I have the pleasure of inviting up Sherry Salles to usher in Shabbat with the two lights. One for Shamor and one for Zachor, to honor and remember the Sabbath. And if you will read the bottom of page 3 before you light, that would be delightful.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We continue with Kiddush, the prayer for the sanctification of this special day on page 5. And if you're able, please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaro lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. L'chaim. And you're welcome to be seated as we turn to page 20 for Lecha Dodi. We'll stay seated for verses 1, 2, and 5. And then for verse 9, I'll ask everyone to please rise and face the entrance as we welcome our beloved Shabbat.
Yalla la 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 lecha dodi, yalla la 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 likrat kala, yalla la 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 penei Shabbat lekavela, shamor v'zachor v'libo echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, shemo tiferet v'nitilah. Yalla la 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 lecha dodi, yalla la 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 likrat kala, yalla la 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 penei Shabbat, penei Shabbat mekavela, likrat Shabbat, lechu v'nilcha, ki b'kol ha'bracha, merosh mikedem,
I invite you to turn to the folks you see around you, whether you're on screens or in the sanctuary, and say hello, Shabbat Shalom. If you don't know their name, introduce yourselves.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. All.
Yep.
I'll ask everyone to stay standing as we turn to Baruch Hu, our call to worship, back to our regular repertoire of Shabbat tunes. Page 28. Responsibly in the middle of page 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love? Thus, this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form, Baruch Atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Page 36.
Ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha la la ya la 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 שבטך בביתך, לכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. לה 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 ודיברת בם, שבטך בביתך, לכתך בדרך, שוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 40.
מלכותך ראו בניך, וכי הים לפני משה ומרים. זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Guide us in wisdom, עמיתנו שומרנו לחיים. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Ashkimenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Ve'amitenu shomreinu l'chaim. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים, את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
The teaching of Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. Every word of one's prayer should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers rows upon rows until a bouquet is formed and can be offered to God as a beautiful blessing. As you're able, please rise as we continue with the Amidah, our central standing prayer, which begins on page 46 and continues on the even pages.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated as we turn to page 58 for the first three words. Modim anachnu lach, our words of gratitude to the source of blessing. If you're on YouTube or Zoom, feel free to chat what you are grateful for this Shabbat. And I'll ask the folks in our sanctuary, is there anything you are celebrating at this time that we can say thank you with you? I'm grateful we made it through the High Holy Days. Right, grateful that that many people were able to celebrate the High Holy Days in person. I know that was important to a lot of us. Alana, yeah. All right, being able to fast the whole day. I can relate, absolutely. All right, we'll pause to say thank you.
מודים אנחנו לך, מודים אנחנו לך.
Neil? Beginning of Sunday school, religious school? Yep. Wonderful. I hope they love it. Ronnie? Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you. She's grateful for meaningful High Holy Day services. My husband has a birthday tomorrow, so we're thankful for an excuse to celebrate, even though that's not his favorite thing to do. So we'll say thank you.
מודים אנחנו לך, מודים אנחנו לך.
Is he on there? Oh, did you see what they were? I can't read it from here. But everyone on Zoom, thank you for sharing your blessings of gratitude. We're going to continue with Shalom Rav on page 60. May next Shabbat we not need this prayer and instead add to our list for Modim, thank you God for world peace.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הברך את עמו, את עמו ישראל בשלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
add to our blessings of gratitude, grateful for the amazing weather over the high holy days and support from family and friends. We'll now take a few moments for silent prayer and come back together in just a moment on page 62. Just a moment, we'll turn to our prayer for healing. Cantor, which prayer are we singing tonight?
Page 373.
373.
El na refana lah.
And this Shabbat, we keep these loved ones in our thoughts and prayers. Rhoda Schwartz, Arlene Grable, Teddy Molaski, Noah Hecker, Marvin and Ginny Gittleman, Betty Abramowitz, Bob Gast, Elaine Berkowitz, Barbara Gladstone, Rosalie Krieger, Dorothy Chason, Jill Sava, Yisrael Binyamin, Lisa Scher, Louis Baskin, Lois Baskin, Erica Taylor, Sandra Schachter, the Weisberg and Evans family, Bernard Greenwald, Gail Malter, Avram Glazer, Iris Horowitz, Scott Horowitz, Nikki Van Rensburg, Sharon Fallitz, David Hughesman, Catherine Isnardi, Louis Jacobs, Bobby Schwartz, Lisa Garwood, Mary Delahanty, Cherie Hardin, Bernice Dvorkin, Stuart and Stephen Patz, Meredith Bloomberg, Fran Stuckey, Richard Weiss, Kate Michelson, Lester Rakoff, Leslie Kramer, Audrey Blackburn, Stephen Finver, Marjorie Estrin, Marilyn Silverberg, Nat Salako, Rachel Glatt, Faye Josephson, John Withers, Owen Lehrfeld, Les and Joanne Friedemann, Erica Trojan, Joan Cutler, Estelle Cohen, Mark Cohen, and Lynn Levine. Any other names you'd like to add? In their honor, we pray together, invoking Moses' words when his sister Miriam became ill.
This I pray.
Late, written by Abraham Raisin, translated by Jack Noskowitz. Antosh cracked his whip and urged his ancient mare along. It was almost noon, and he was only on the outskirts of town. But the poor horse just plodded along. Antosh lifted his whip again. "Please move!" The horse whinnied, and it seemed that even she was laughing at Antosh. But what could he expect? Everyone else whom he passed on the road had laughed. Everyone. What could be wrong? It all begun when autumn came. The days in Eastern Europe were getting shorter and the nights longer. Antosh, a peasant living in a small village, would have liked to light a lamp in the evening, but the kerosene jug was empty and he had no money. His supply of salt was also running very low, and he only had a very small piece of soap left. There was not even a tea leaf in the pot. "It is bad," said Antosh, talking to himself. "No salt, no soap, no tea, nothing." And Antosh had no way of earning money. He had only one hope: to load his wagon with green branches that the Jews used to cover their Sukkot, take it into town, and sell it. Right after Rosh Hashanah, he began to pester the one Jew who lived in his village. "When will you celebrate Sukkot?" he used to ask every day. And each time the Jew would answer, "It's a long way off yet." "But when?" Antosh would insist. One day the Jew, to stop Antosh's pestering, answered, "1 week from today." Actually, it was only 5 days to Sukkot, but Antosh didn't know this, and he planned to come to town with his merchandise when he thought it was 2 days before the holiday. This was, of course, the first day of Sukkot. That day, Antosh rose early, hitched up his sleepy, half-starved horse, took his axe, and drove into the forest. He began to cut branches and put them into the wagon. He chose the longer and thicker branches. Good merchandise sells better, he thought. The load continued to grow, and at last the wagon was full. Now Antosh drove slowly, and as he drove, he was thinking of the soap, flour, and other things he would be able to buy with the money he earned from the sale of his merchandise. When he reached the outskirts of the town and saw that the festival booths were covered, his heart skipped a beat, and his head began to whirl. He steadied himself and thought, "It is the same every year. Some Jews cover their Sukkot early and others later." He rode on. 2 women were standing in front of a house. They were pointing at him and laughing. "Why are you laughing?" Antosh asked angrily. "Because you brought the branches so early," they mocked. "What do you mean early?" Antosh asked, not understanding why they were making fun of him. He was answered by peals of laughter. Antosh spat angrily and rode on, thinking to himself, "How can it be? If I counted right, today's 2 days before the holiday." He broke out in a cold sweat because it occurred to him that he might have lost count of the days. He was too late. Certainly too late. All the Sukkot were covered. He would have no salt, no light. Sadly, he drove on, and his horse, who seemed to sense her master's misfortune, pulled the wagon with her head bowed. At last, he reached the village square. "I have green twigs and branches for you, Sukkot," he called. "Who will buy roof coverings from Antosh?" His voice echoed back at him. Except for a goat or 2 ambling along the road, the square was deserted. And then suddenly, the big doors of the synagogue in the center of the square swung open, and the men started pouring out. Jews in well-brushed black coats and fur-trimmed hats, little boys whose side curls had barely begun to grow, and they seemed to be heading toward Antosh. Ah, here they were. Now he could sell his wares. He cried, "Here's Antosh, the wood chopper, with twigs for your booths. I have branches, I have..." Antosh stopped. The crowd had surrounded Antosh in his wagon. "Thank you for coming," said one, "only you're a little late. 1 little day late. Can't you see that it is already Sukkot? That today is the holiday itself?" "Everyone's sukkah is already covered," said another. But Antosh, confused by his misfortune, cried, Buy, I need salt, I need flour, I need soap." The crowd around the peasant stopped laughing. Even Antosh grew silent. He lowered his head in misery and shame. No use standing here like the big oaf he was. Might as well go home and eat his twigs. The people looked at the poor, hungry peasant, saw his worried face, and felt sorry for him. A poor peasant, it's a pity, one of the townspeople said. He had high hopes, and all of a sudden nothing, said another. We ought to buy his green branches, another man suggested, but how can we? It's a holiday today, and you're not supposed to spend money on the holiday. No salt, no kerosene, no soap, the peasant continued to cry. Wait a minute, said someone. Listen to me, everybody. The speaker jostled his way through the crowd. Clambering up on Antosh's wagon, he shouted to the townsfolk. Antosh has worked so hard. He meant well. It's our duty to help him now, and we can. We don't have to pay him with money. He doesn't need money. He needs merchandise, food, and kerosene. We can't let him go away empty-handed. Won't you open your shops and give Antosh what he needs in return for his labors? Everyone was quiet for a moment. Then Yonah, the baker, said in his deep voice, He's right. I will give Antosh 6 loaves of bread. And Ruvain, the grocer, nodded, I'll throw in 5 cans of kerosene. And David, the fish dealer, said, I give 2 pickerel and 7 carp. Then they all chimed in and offered barley and rice until Antosh's wagon was filled with all kinds of good things. Antosh had never known such kindness in all his life. The peasant was beside himself with joy. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Slowly he stood up in the wagon. Dear people, he stammered, Antosh cannot make speeches. He can only say he's grateful. He says it now. Antosh is grateful. He sat down. As he was about to drive away, someone gave him a big piece of challah. Here, take it home, he was told. Here's another piece, said someone else. Then everyone began to bring Antosh challah. He was so confused that he could only murmur over and over, thank you, thank you. Everyone was happy. Mordechai, a jolly Jew who spared nothing in celebrating the holidays and who had a future son-in-law visiting him, brought out a glass of whiskey for Antosh. Here, drink this and farewell, he said. Antosh swallowed the whiskey in one gulp, took a bite of challah, and cried out, I'll never forget it. Never. So as we prepare to celebrate the festival of Sukkot, I do believe our sukkah is up if anyone wants to peruse around back when we're done here. But we are excited to gather together again on Monday night. Hopefully the weather will hold. Right now the forecast looks good as we'll have a short service outside. And this is the season of sharing the abundance those of us may enjoy, especially with those who don't have, and to say thank you for all of the blessings in our lives. So this Modim moment will continue as we enter into the festival of Sukkot. We now turn to Aleinu, page 282, as I ask everyone who is able to please rise. 282 in our prayer books. One moment, please.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב עיקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You're welcome to take a seat as we turn to page 289. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full, but as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen, yet we do not despair. For we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. Kadisha Tom Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. And as I read the following names, if you are remembering a loved one this Shabbat, I invite you to stand at your seat, and then we'll all stand together and join in the liturgy. We remember one who died this week, Harriet Rosenberg, aunt of Susan McClure. One whose loved ones are in the period of Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning, Richard Gritz, cousin of Karen Brodsky. And several whose loved ones are in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, Margaret Leah Linton, mother of David Linton, Deborah Deutsch-Webb, aunt of David Linton, Dr. Robert Bennett, cousin of Karen Brodsky, Mark Mead, brother of Harvey Mead, Henry William Dunn, father of Kim Blatt. And we remember the following yard sites, the anniversary of the passing of these loved ones that fell in this past week. Morris Schlossberg, Alfred Berg, Wesley Eisman Bramnick, Leo Diamond, Aaron Kotowitz, Irving Miller, Leonora Damiano, Walter Blumenthal, Bruce Nasberg, Louis Lutzkin, Solomon Goldstein, Mildred Goldstein, Jack Gross, Julius Horowitz, Gladys Bierman, Dr. Barton Kamen, Evelyn Leibowitz, Louise Nemerson, Max Markowitz, Ruth Gold, Michael Bayer, Miriam Resnick, Stanley Turk, Leonard Unger, Sam Greenberg, Ronald Leff, Lenore Strober, Faye Thune, Harry Weisberg, Edith Zuckerman and Martin Zuckerman, Esther Rosenberg, Ida Steinberg, Ruth Karp, Saul Diamond, Lisa Abamonte, and Yetta Solomon. We rise together as one community for Kaddish Tom. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon, u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yit barach v'yish tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit haleh v'yit halal Shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbitachta b'nechemata. Amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim alinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memory always be a blessing. Please be seated as we invite Norm back up to share a few announcements with us.
Hello again. My name is still Norman Goldschmidt. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Congregation Beth Chaim, thank you for joining us this evening for our Shabbat service. Tomorrow morning, our weekly Shabbat Torah study will meet in person outside at 8:45 a.m. Religious school begins this Sunday. Yay! In the lot, 9 a.m. Please dress for the weather. Everybody's so excited to start Sunday school again and see our students again.
Jonah Blum's very excited.
This Sunday, all adult education is postponed. Join us at Beth Chaim this Monday at 7 p.m. as we celebrate Sukkot. We'll celebrate outside in the Sukkah, weather permitting. The office will be closed for the holiday on Tuesday, although the Racial Justice Task Force will meet via Zoom at 7:30 p.m. On Thursday, Nosh and Knowledge will meet in person at 11 a.m. Please join us Friday night at 7:30 for Shabbat services as we officially kick off our 50th anniversary celebration. Visit our website, bethchaim.org, for details about upcoming events and to contribute to our High Holy Day appeal. Thank you, as always, for being a valued member of our community. I feel like I should be looking at people as I say this. Thank you all very much for being valued members of our community. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. Wishing you a joyous Sukkot. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm. And anyone in person, if you did not have a chance to sign in, all we need is your name. Please do so before you leave. We do need to keep tabs for contact tracing as cases in our area are up, especially among children. So hopefully that will decline shortly, but until then, we just want to make sure that we know how to reach you. Our closing song, page 327, the Ladino version of Ein Kelohenu, a tune of the Spanish-speaking Jewish community that ended up all over the world.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Mi Eloheinu, mi Adonenu, mi Malkeinu, mi Moshienu, quien como nuestro Dios, quien como nuestro Señor, quien como nuestro Rey, quien como nuestro Salvador. No del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, no del Malkeinu, no del Moshienu, daremos a nuestro Dios, daremos a nuestro Señor, daremos a nuestro Rey, daremos a nuestro Salvador. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Bendicho a nuestro Dios, bendicho a nuestro Señor, bendicho a nuestro Rey, bendicho a nuestro Salvador. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. Tú sos nuestro Dios, tú sos nuestro Señor, tú sos nuestro Rey, tú sos nuestro Salvador.
We close out with words of Torah, words that have been passed down from generation to generation, words of hope and protection.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless us and protect us.
Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's light shine upon us, and may God be gracious to us.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May we always feel that God's presence is near, and may we be blessed with the greatest gift of all, the gift of peace.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Thank you, Mira.
Thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Toby.
Thank you, Mira.
Thank you, Mira.